Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm going to talk about the core motivations of the 9 Enneagram types. And this is also a continuation of my Enneagram Basic series, just giving you the fundamentals that makes up type. And the core motivations is really central to understanding yourself, but understanding type in general. This is really what's driving each person on a heart level. And discerning this is really a personal journey to look at what really hits home for you most. Whenever I start describing these types, take time to kind of ponder on what really resonates with you on a deep level. This is a journey for individuals to take, and growth is possible whenever you discover your actual type. So, this is also something not to rush into, but to kind of sit with it and see what you identify with most. So, yeah, today I'm going to be covering the core fear, the core desire, the core weakness, and then also the core fixation. It's also called the ego fixation of the type. It's what their mind is locking onto. And another aspect is the core longing. And I'm going to cover that in a later video because this is more of the message that a person is longing to hear. And I'm going to present it with the childhood message, which is another like very core aspect of the formation of type, is the message that the child believed that created the pain or the deficit, kind of like the untruth that they believed. And then the core longing is the true message that they're seeking to hear to set them free from their Enneagram being a bondage or a limitation to them. So yeah, look forward to that in a future video. But today we're going to talk about the core desire, the core fear, the core weakness, and the fixation. So starting off, I'm going to just define those terms. And also I've got these definitions from Beth McCord from Your Enneagram Coach. This is the program that I'm taking currently, working on my certification to become a certified Enneagram life coach. It's an incredible course. It's really amazing. And I love how she's broken things down, how she presents the Enneagram. So I've snagged her definitions because I like, they're very concise. So the core fear. The core fear is what a person is always running away from, avoiding, and trying to prevent from happening. It's really a driving force for the type. Then the core desire is what a person is always striving for and believing will bring them complete fulfillment in their life. Then the core weakness is the core issue that people are always wrestling with. It's that vice, that struggle. And then the core longing, again, I'm going to cover this in another video, but that's the central message that a person's heart is always longing and thirsting to hear. And then the core fixation is the ego's habit of mind. It's the intellectual part of the ego. The fixation can narrow a person's focus to only that way of seeing things, causing them to be stuck in their Enneagram type. This fixation is an aspect that I'm kind of attaching to this because I think it's very helpful in recognizing this within yourself and others as well. So starting out, let's head over to this. This is just a picture of all of the 9 types. This image is from the Enneagram Institute. And 3 sources I'm going to use in this video is the Ennea app, which is really awesome. I've actually got it right here. It's a really, really good app. And it has incredible information on it, on all of the types. And then Your Enneagram Coach, as I mentioned before, I'm going to quote her at points throughout this. And then the Enneagram Institute is connected to this really amazing book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Don Rizzo and Russ Hudson. And yeah, so I'm using their names that they call the types here. that's in this image. So yeah. So just starting out, I'm gonna kind of tie back. We've got um, our three centers. We've got the gut, our heart, and then our fear or head triad. Our 8, 9, and 1 in the gut, the 2, 3, and 4 in the heart, and then the 5, 6, and 7 in the fear triad. I keep saying fear, it's the head. But yeah, so these are the names. Get used to them. I'm going to reference the types in this video by these names that they use. So let's get started with type 1. We're just going to go from 1 all the way to 9. So the core fear of type 1, who is the reformer, their core fear is of being bad, defective, evil, corrupt, inappropriate, or unredeemable. Yeah, so this is a state that they never want to be considered in this. They're running from this. They don't ever want this to happen. So that leads to the core desire, and their core desire is to be good, to be virtuous, to be in balance, to be right, accurate, and to have integrity. Also, something really great out of this book that I'm going to go over is the super ego message that they cover for each type as just a good summary alongside the core motivations. And their message is, you are good and okay if you do what is right. Their core weakness is anger. And the way this looks for them, anger is buried. They suppress it, and it shows up like an inner critic criticizing them. And then they're like kind of angry because in their effort to be good, in their effort to do everything right, they're not listening to themselves. They're suppressing their actual desires. And it's creating a dissonance and anger within themselves in being subject to an inner critic so much. And so yeah, then the ego fixation runs in with that. And their ego fixation is resentment. And that is how you start to see the anger, is it comes out like frustration and irritation and being like kind of seeing flaws around them, kind of nitpicking other people. They are that way to themselves. So then they start to resent other people who aren't putting as much effort into doing the right thing, who are slacking, things like, things of that nature. So it becomes like a resentment towards others, subtly. Even though the anger is pushed down, they are battling resentments often. So something else I'm incorporating is type quotes. I got type quotes out of the Ennea app. They have a quote for each type. And then something really cool throughout the wisdom of the Enneagram. There we go. They leave these little quotes on the side all throughout the chapters. And I wrote them down because I'm like, I love them as a quick summary of just if this person was talking from this state, what's some things that they would be saying. So a type quote for type 1 is, I'm always working towards being good, making things right. Isn't everyone? I have a mission in life. I know how things should be done. Everyone is so lazy and irresponsible. There's a sensible way of handling everything. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and there are no exceptions. I've got to get control of myself. You can hear all of those core things in those statements. Okay, on to type 2, the helper. The core fear of the helper is of being unloved and unwanted for themselves alone. Yeah. Not feeling that they are enough in of themselves. So there's a fear of being rejected. There's a fear of being thought worthless, needy, inconsequential, dispensable, and unworthy of love. I'm also getting these definitions from a couple of places, the Wisdom of the Enneagram, and then also the Core Motivations PDF at yourenneagramcoach.com. Really great resource listing off the essence of these types. So yeah, type 2, by the way, I'm a type 2. I highly relate to this. Yeah, this is something, it's like the worst nightmare of type 2 is being rejected and unwanted, being thought of as needy. You'll see that lead into the vice of this type. But the core desire is to feel loved, to feel appreciated, to feel wanted, to feel seen and acknowledged. Um, yeah, just loved. The superego message of type 2 is you are good and okay if you are loved by others and are close to them. Very relationship oriented type. The weakness of type 2 is pride. And how that manifests, I'm going to read a couple of quotes here. One from the Ennea app and one from your Enneagram coach. An overinflated sense of self in relationship to others. I know what you need and can give it to you better than anyone else. You need me and I don't need anything. Second quote, denying your own needs and emotions while using your strong intuition to discover and focus on the emotions and needs of others, confidently inserting your helpful support in hopes that others will say how grateful they are for your thoughtful care. Yes, very true. I lived a lot of my life denying that I had needs and was just in tune with others. And I built connections upon being very in tune with other people and meeting their needs and then feeling closeness within such a thing and denying myself very much. So, and actually believing like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anything. And health has come from seeing that's not been the case, really. So, yeah, this is how pride manifests in type 2. That leads to the ego fixation, which is flattery. This can be flattery of other people. It's wanting to be flattered too, as well. A quote, an attitude of being special and wanting special treatment without having to ask for it. This may be exhibited as the opposite attitude of excessive modesty. So yeah, just wanting somebody to praise me, I guess, in a sense, and to pour that onto somebody else too. Can be the fixation in meeting all of these different, the desires, avoiding the core fear, they all run together. So quotes for type 2 is, I try to be loved by loving. I can make anyone like me. Yeah, the gifts of the two can feel that way. Isn't it wonderful how close we are? I won't take no for an answer. Let me do that for you. Where would you be without me? Yeah, this is all there. The Enneagram is very uncovering, I'll say. So I found my type. Type 3. Type 3 is the achiever, and their core fear is of being worthless, without value apart from their achievements. One second. There we go. Being exposed as or thought incompetent, inefficient, or worthless, failing to be or appear successful. Their core desire is to feel worthwhile, accepted, and desirable. So, yeah, these go together. Their core fear leading them to want to be successful, to appear successful, to run from failure at all costs, basically, to look the part to society's standards and to meet that desire also of being desirable, being admirable. Another quote about the desire is having high status and respect, being admired, successful, and valuable. Their superego message is you are good or okay as long as you are successful and others think well of you. So the ego is managing that, making sure that they stay on the right side of that. The core weakness or vice is deceit. And how this manifests for them, it becomes like self-deceit. They forget the self, they deceive themselves as well as others, which is how they can operate in it very easily, is because they have deceived the self. about who they are. They over-identify with the image that they've created, and they believe it's who they are, and they want you to believe that's who they are. Yeah, a couple of quotes here. Projecting and identifying with an image of the winner, with what gains praise from others rather than being in touch with the true self. This may compromise the quality of work and impair relationships. Yeah. I'll just read that one. So, ego fixation for them is vanity. It goes with that. And a quote for that is acquiring praise and admiration for the self. Anything that serves as a boost to the ego. Being very image conscious, adjusting the image to get praise, wanting that response, adjusting based on responses. Type quotes for type 3 is get to the top and look good doing it. If I work hard, I know I can do it. I can do this better than anyone else. I've got it all together. Feelings are like speed bumps. They just slow me down. I can do anything I want to be. I can be anything I want to be. What do I have to do to impress you? And then a positive is I enjoy being me. In health, they really lean into just authenticity. Yeah, so that's our type 3, the achiever. Now on to type 4, the individualist. Their core fear is of having no identity and no personal significance. They fear being inadequate or being cut off emotionally, defective, flawed, or seen as insignificant. They are wanting to know who they are, wanting to know what differentiates them from other people, and they fear that they're not significant, that they aren't special in some way. So their core desire that goes with that is to find themselves and their significance, to create an identity out of their inner self. Yeah, who am I is a core message within those that are in the heart triad, but with them, it's very individual like that. It's I want to know who I am and what makes me me, and they seek that out. That's the desire that they believe will fulfill them. So they fixate and focus on that. Their super ego message is you are good and okay if you are true to yourself. Authenticity is a big thing for them. Being authentic and that driving everything they do. What is authentic to me right now? And living true to that. As a result of all of this, the core weakness, core vice is envy. They have a sense of something is missing in them, and they start to look around and believe that other people have it. Other people have what I don't have. They feel flawed, and they aren't seeing that in other people. They just become something that they long after having what others have. Here's a quote. Yearning and longing, looking at others' lives and coveting what others have, feeling deprived, seeing flaws in the self, and thinking that others have it better. Their ego fixation is melancholy. It becomes the emotional state that they're in. The type 4 is very in tune with their emotions. They're the most focused and in tune with their emotions. And with this being the dynamics within them, their ego, their mental fixation is on melancholy. They focus on this emotion. It becomes, here's a quote, sadness and longing for what is perceived to be missing, which overwhelms appreciation of self and others. So it becomes consuming above everything else, this longing feeling. Type quotes for type 4 is, I'm the only one who feels this way and no one else can really understand. No one understands me. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. That individualist in them, staying true to what's authentic. I have a secret self that no one knows. People are so cruel and insensitive to me. Everyone lets me down. Then I've got to be me. So yeah. On to type 5, the investigator. Their core fear is of being helpless, useless, incapable. Feeling invaded, being thought incapable or ignorant, having obligations placed on them, and fearing that their energy will be completely depleted by the outside environment. Yeah, this feels very real to them. This is what they are avoiding at all costs. They don't want this to happen. So, yeah, that'll lead into all the other aspects. So their core desire is to be capable and competent, to be ready, to understand, to have knowledge, to be equipped for what they're walking into. And the superego message is you are good and okay if you have mastered something. This all together creates a withdrawing effect to become knowledgeable, to become an expert, to really dig into things. Yeah. And their core weakness, their vice, is avarice. Avarice is a word that's kind of attributed to greed, but it's not hoarding lots of stuff. Avarice is coming from a place of I don't have enough, or like I am in lack, so I must preserve what I have, sort of understanding. A quote from the core motivations of your Enneagram coach says, feeling that you lack inner resources and that too much interaction with others will lead to catastrophic depletion, withholding yourself from contact with the world, holding onto your resources and minimizing your needs. Yeah, that's how it manifests. And then their ego fixation is stinginess and withdrawal. It kind of goes with that, but mentally it's being focused on withdrawing and hoarding what you know, hoarding your knowledge, hoarding your materials, hoarding your time, hoarding yourself. Yeah, it seems like the answer. And again, these fixations is what really locks them into the type. The stronger you are fixated on this, the more tethered to being a 5 you will be. Is the story of all of the types, really. So, the type quotes for type 5 is, I'll keep a low profile so that you can't intrude and control me. What's going on here? They're very inquisitive. What if we try another way? I need more time. Is it safe to come out? I don't need much, but I need my space. Yeah, so that's the essence of our type 5. On to type 6. Type 6 is the loyalist. Their core fear is of having no support and guidance, of being unable to survive on their own. This is something that they do believe, that they run from, I guess, like trusting the self because this might happen. Fearing fear itself, being without support, security, or guidance, being blamed, targeted, alone, or physically abandoned. They go into community, they go into grabbing a hold of some type of system or belief system to create guidance in their life, to give them external stability, because they don't feel that they can trust their own inner voice, inner guidance. So their core desire is to find security and support, guidance. It's all kind of going together. That's what they're searching for. That's driving them throughout their life. Their super ego message is you are good and okay if you do what is expected of you. Again, this is being connected to some outside community to tell you what you should do, which is that guidance. So it's, being tethered to the expectation, to the system that they've joined or merged with or or loyal to. They're called the loyalists. So yeah, they're very community oriented. Then that leads to their weakness. Their weakness is fear itself. There are 3 types in the fear triad, but for type 6, their vice is fear or anxiety or doubt. A quote is, "The addiction to fear is propelled by the belief that the belief that it will keep the 6 from being alone or without support. To feel safe and relaxed would be too dangerous. The core fear is fear itself." And then their ego fixation is cowardice, which goes with that. They're mentally looking at the scary thing. They're looking at the negative outcome. They're looking at what could happen, what could go wrong, and then making their moves based on the thing that they're fearing, which is being cowardice. It's determining your moves by what is fearful. And a quote on that is, physical feeling of fear leading to rigidity and paralysis, bracing the self against opposition and uncertainty. My fixation quotes are from the Ennea app. Really good summaries. So the type quotes for type 6 is, "Who cares if the glass is half empty or half full? It will break anyway." What can I believe in? And then you can depend on me. They're very loyal to the groups that they are a part of. I get anxious and then I look for reasons why I'm anxious. I'm danged if I do and danged if I don't. I've heard that my whole life. I have a 6 in my family. Let's see. What are they up to? Suspiciousness. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. They have a wrestle with authority figures. They go under authority and then kind of break out of it and then back under authority. It's kind of a thing with type 6s. And can we be friends? Very community oriented people. So type 7, let's move on to the enthusiasts. Their core fear is of being deprived and trapped in pain. Or being bored or missing out on something fun. This is what they avoid. They run from this. Generally, this doesn't happen in their life because they go out and fill their life with amazing things to do. Their core desire is to be happy, satisfied, and to find fulfillment. Their superego message is, you are good and okay if you get what you need. A core thing about them is that they feel that their needs weren't met. So they've gone out to meet their own needs, to make sure that their life is full, to take care of themselves is kind of the core thing there. And then the weakness of type 7 is gluttony, going out and filling their life up with pleasure, positive experiences, filling that empty void in them, to always stay in a positive experience of life, feeling that happiness that they're creating for themselves. And how they do that goes into the ego fixation, which is planning. They get fixated on planning positive futures, keeping their life full so that they don't feel empty. But with the gluttony, it can kind of keep them not really present in what they're in, but looking to the next thing, and which makes them not really experience the moment as it is, with their mind being into planning in the present moment that they find themselves in. A quote on the ego fixation is, using excessive optimism, planning, and self-inflation to avoid the pain of substantial issues or problems. Their focus is always on the future. So it's away from internal pain, not wanting to deal with the anxiety. They're in the fear triad, not wanting to deal with that anxiety. So shifting the focus away from it. Quotes for the 7 is, more is better. I still haven't figured out what I want to do when I grow up. If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I don't want to miss out. Come on, everybody. Let's get some juice going. Wanting to stir things up. Why can't everyone keep up with me? I want it and I want it now. It's not my problem. Whatever gets you through the night, and then the world is my oyster. This is the soul of our type 7s here. All right, guys, on to type 8, the challenger. Type 8, their core fear is of being harmed or controlled by others or of being violated. It's a fear of being manipulated, being vulnerable, being powerless in a situation, being a victim of injustice in some way. And their core desire is to protect themselves and to determine their own course in life. So the idea is vulnerability went wrong, so I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to be weak. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect others that need protection. I'm going to protect the weak as well. I'm going to look out for the underdog is kind of the idea, the desire that they're wanting to do. Having control over their own life to chart their own course. The superego message is you are good and okay if you are strong and in control of your situation. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. If you're in control of your own situation. So as long as I stay strong and I stay in control, all is well. I'm doing great in life. That's what the ego tells them. The weakness of type 8 is lust. And lust isn't necessarily how we imagine lust, but it has a lot to do with their energy, their passion, their drive, just that being, so powerful, in the world, and that energy kind of consuming them and them living according to that energy and wanting intensity in life. A quote for describing that is constantly desiring intensity, control, and power, pushing yourself willfully on life and people to get what you desire. So that energy is the driving force. It's kind of consumes what they're focused on. Executing that power, that goal that they have in some way. Their ego fixation is vengeance. This type is highly related to justice as well as the other types in the gut triad. But they're focused on vengeance, righting wrongs. A quote on that is, wanting to right all wrongs, especially as pertains to the self and those whom the 8 feels protective of. The mafia is a good example of that. Excessive hostility and cynicism, which may devalue relationships and activities. This is what it can look like. That vengeance, wanting to vindicate those that they love and themselves, to enforce justice on someone else. So type quotes of type 8 is my way or the highway. I am the master of my own fate. I've got to bring home the bacon. You've got to deal with me. What are you made of? No one tells me what to do. I can look out for you. Different aspects of their nature. So now on to type 9, the peacemaker. Last but not least. The peacemaker, their core fear is of loss and separation, of being alienated, being in conflict, tension, discord, feeling shut out or overlooked, and they fear losing connection with their relationships. This is the biggest, worst thing that could happen from their perspective. This is what they fear most. And how they deal with that, I guess there are two aspects. It's not that the fear causes the desire, but they're both there. But their desire is to maintain inner stability and peace of mind, to not have turbulence. So they kind of go numb in order to keep this. As you'll see as I get into the weakness, it's at the expense of the self that they're able to create this false harmony almost. Their super ego message is you are good or okay as long as those around you are good or okay. Yeah, it's self-forgetting and, tunes into others to keep everything stable. And then their weakness is sloth, going to sleep to the self, numbing out, disconnecting, dulling everything down so that making things don't matter, saying, they go to sleep that they matter in order to keep the peace, to keep things routine, keep things stable. Let's see. A quote on that is a siphoning off of energy into inessential activities, not paying attention to their own needs and desires. When the 9 gets close to something that matters, they turn the flame down so as to diminish desire as a defense to the pain of not getting their needs met. Focus goes to creating harmony and comfort, avoiding making changes, and taking necessary action. So, yeah, they go to sleep, become inactive to their actual passions, to their actual desires. And then that leads to their ego fixation and its indolence. This is a word I didn't know before, but a definition of indolence: freedom from pain and discomfort of body and mind, habitual idleness and laziness about the self. It doesn't matter, they say. Not paying attention to what's important, following established patterns and routines to stay comfortable. So, as you can see, they go together. But this is more the fixation of mind, avoiding pain, avoiding the discomfort, and just choosing idleness, choosing to, it's a laziness in pursuit. So keeping the routine, keeping things steady, keeping it comfortable. It all goes with the prioritizing comfort, really. So type quotes for our type 9 is, why get upset about something you can't change? I go with the flow. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't let things get to me. One day my ship will come in. I'll deal with this a little later. The more you bring it up, the less I'm going to do it. They're kind of stubborn in that way too. They're in the gut triad, resisting still. They do it more passive aggressively, I guess. But yeah, we can all get along is the last quote. So yeah, guys, that is the core motivations of the 9 types. Which of these do you relate to? Does any of this story kind of resonate with your childhood, or just ways you've dealt with things in life, ways you've kind of managed and made it through, or the weakness that you can relate to? Yeah, like, yeah, I do struggle with that. That's kind of doesn't go away. These core things they're innate to our types. They don't go away. We just learn how to not follow them, or to realize, it's lying to me in some way. I don't have to follow this. But this messaging is really the central part of knowing your type and becoming self-aware. Self-awareness really is the most essential thing in personal growth. And being able to recognize this in yourself just opens up lots of possibilities of other options, other ways you can process this, and to not have it completely control your life. But also, it is still the true desires of the heart. And this is also what really speaks to these types, is to speak to these desires, to comfort these fears, and to encourage these types out of these fears. But yeah, we're all looking through a different lens in life. We are starting from a different place. And yeah, growth is based on where we really are. So it starts with discerning, where am I really? And a great place to start is with the core motivations. So if you need to rewatch this video, feel free to do so. Also, still want to refer you to these really good resources. Ennea app, Well, it says Ennea app, even though you can't really see it. And then the wisdom of the Enneagram is really, really good. And then also yourenneagramcoach.com. Here's, I'll show these real quick. The Enneagram Institute, Ennea app, Your Enneagram Coach. Very, very good. And getting a better understanding of the types. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful to you. I'm grateful for your time on the channel. And if you have any questions related to the core motivations, feel free to leave a comment. Also, which of these do you relate to? Feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you in your type journey. And stay tuned for future videos. I'm going to continue to roll out videos on the childhood messages and just other foundational aspects of the Enneagram. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into the Enneagram. I feel like this has such life-changing potential. Like, it's changed my life to wake up to this level of pattern recognition within myself, to see what I'm doing and then decide, do I really want to do that? You know, is there a better way? Is there another way I can operate in the world? Is this my truest self? And yeah, to continue to wake up. So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.